Training for pushing motion makes your shoulders more functional, stable, and stronger. It allows you to push objects, lift stuff overhead, and throw things further away, to self-defend and to build an aesthetically pleasing upper body. Strong and stable shoulders also enable you to play sports like basketball, soccer, volleyball, handball, and also contribute to most physical activities like swimming or playing tennis or pushing a sled. The anterior chain workout for the upper body primarily trains push motions, engaging muscles like the chest, triceps, and the shoulders. So it essentially trains your ability to push objects further from your body. This comes in handy in self-defense, in pushing a cart in the mall, or placing heavier objects on the upper shelf. Beyond functionality, having good and stable shoulders is required not just for good posture, but anytime you want to do some activity like throw a basketball, throw a frisbee, surf, balance yourself on the bus, you need functional, strong shoulders. This is the all-arounder push workout that beyond just building muscle trains some functionality, as in the ability to push or the ability to translate that into throwing power. And also makes you look better in a t-shirt, however only aesthetic and non-functional that sounds. So the full set of exercises for this training include the bench press, the main compound exercise for strength and overall size, the single arm overhead press, again for unilateral stability and hypertrophy, the Landmine press plus lunge jump. This is for movement efficiency, explosiveness, ability to throw heavy things from a lunge, and the Triceps Extension, which is purely isolation, hypertrophy-based exercise. The warm-up is based on activating the rotator cuff muscles and some push muscles, and also warm up the shoulder joint. This way, we can prevent injury and we can slowly progress onto adding more weight on the bar. It starts out with 2 sets of lighter, deep range of motion push-ups with a very slow decline, so you really feel all the pushing muscles. You're able to control and squeeze from your chest and shoulders on your way up. Then I lift one arm for core stability, doing essentially a plank, and then I get back down. I don't count this one, I go as far as I can to feel a flow and get my muscles activated while keeping a correct technique. After a couple of push-ups, I'd get an elastic bend and do some shoulder movements. External rotation to wake up the rotator cuff, important for injury prevention, and shoulder flexion or arm abduction to warm the chest and the shoulders. The first one is the incline bench press. This is your most important compound exercise that's going to be responsible for most of the gains. Why incline? Because it activates the lower and mid part of the chest just as the other variations would, but it activates the upper chest more. It has the muscle building potential because it's compound. It includes all the push muscles, and it's also higher range of motion done in this way because you can have a tighter grip and go lower with your arms. The reason it's incline, it's also a bit safer for the shoulders because they don't go as back in a fuller range of motion. So yeah, if you could pick one push-in exercise instead of doing 3 bench variations, this is the one. If you could also pick one pushing exercise, this has the highest return on investment because it has fuller range of motion and it also trains the upper chest more while involving the lower and mid chest just as much as the other versions. I'd spend about 4 to 5 sets in, making this the main exercise of my workout, slowly progressing from a lighter to a harder set. I make sure to lower the bar slowly by building tension in my arms and shoulder on the way down while resisting. Then I touch the bar down, hold it for 1 second and focus on squeezing the chest together when I push up. This way I get a lot more of that, oh my chest is working kind of feeling instead of just building pressure on the shoulder. I typically go for weight I can lift 6 to 8 times slowly, so within the range between muscle building and strength. I make sure to really focus on stabilizing with my shoulder blades, not to overcompensate or let the ball fall passively, but using the muscle through the full range of motion to feel and build up the tension. If you already eat clean, lift weights, and wear blue blockers, is there a way to optimize even further? Probably yes. Answer our 33 question quiz and see how filled your battery is from 0 to 100. Anything below 90% still has some extra energy left in the tank to be unlocked. The best thing? The quiz gives you 4 high return on investment areas to improve further. We've packed the last 4 years of research on human health and performance optimization into a simple digital product. Recharge: 11 science backed ways to go from tired to energetic. A digital set of an ebook, 12 high quality videos explaining context, and a habit tracker. Scan the QR code or links in the description. See you on the other side. Second one is the Landmine press jump from a lunge. This one is more functional and not really muscle centric, but the point of this is to teach you a proper coordination and gain explosiveness, functionality, and ability to jump off from the hip and translate this force onto the arm towards the object you're trying to push. Starting position is a hip-dominant lunge slightly shifted toward the front foot, straight spine, a position that loads the glutes. The barbell rests in front of the shoulder. The goal is to explode up using the jump-off or push-off power of the hip and, to an extent, the knee extensor quads. This way I can transfer that force on the weight and push it further. It's a complex exercise that requires some coordination or skill learning beforehand. It's a more athletic one in nature, teaching one how to jump off explosively and transfer force from the lower to the upper body using the full kinetic chain. In a way, you'd be storing energy, you're compacting energy on your working side, learning to explode and transfer it onto the other by including diagonal rotation. As when you push off, the core and the hips slightly rotate to extend the force applied. This is very similar to how we humans move, not in linear fashion, but diagonally. The third exercise is the single arm overhead press, and it co-activates way more muscles than it looks. So it's a good one for unilateral stability, training on one side, great for basic general strength, and great for muscle hypertrophy, targeting the triceps and the shoulder. But in a way that I'll set it up, it also isometrically activates the hip, increasing stability. We start off by kneeling on a block, extending maximally through the hip, pushing with the glutes forward while tightening the core. The relatively high weight should also test your core strength, not just hip extension. In a way, you're constantly isometrically almost training your core and hips while pushing with the arm overhead. It's an underhand grip with your hand rotated towards your body at the start. This ensures higher range of motion in the shoulder and greater muscle mass being activated. Then you push off overhead, slowly rotating and locking your elbow at the end. Push your hip forward, activate the core, and slowly lower the weight, resisting it with your full body, particularly the arm muscles like the shoulder and triceps. I typically train with weights I can lift 6 to 10 times correctly with a slow 2-second descent if possible. The reason it's unilateral is simple. It's harder to overcompensate with the trapezius, making sure that you're actually really using the shoulders and triceps as much as you can without sort of straining your neck. Also, the weight is not as high as during an overhead press, which typically overloads the nervous system, making it harder to coordinate properly. It's a mistake that typically happens in newbie lifters on the over press. It's overarching the low back. This is way more functional if you're doing it single arm. It's way more functional than it looks, but you'll have to try it to understand why. The last one is obviously an isolation one that trains mostly the triceps. It's a muscle-centric workout that's effective for growing your tricep. Not my favorite and not the most functional one. It is a pretty easy and convenient way to grow the arms without having to stress your nervous system so much. This one's purely for aesthetic purposes, but again, nothing wrong with it. It's a pumpy isolation exercise that engages the triceps. Elbows are flexed and locked on the torso, preventing compensation with the shoulder. Execute by extending your elbow, activating the triceps at the end, holding for 0.5 seconds. Then slowly go back and repeat before the muscle relaxes. Pump about 10 to 15 reps, and at the end, if you're unable to do any more, you can just position the handles next to each other and squeeze them together. This will give you up to 5 reps more. It's the good type of cheating. And before you order your next shirt, try it on first. Don't just assume you're staying the same size.